the 1990s, catwalk queens such as Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, Naomi Campbell and Christy Turlington were some of the most famous people on the planet, with their extraordinary story about to be told in a new Apple TV series, The Supermodels.
But when Vogue magazine recently went to recreate a famous cover of the 4 fashion icons from that time, it sparked a lot of controversy.
And here to tell us why is family therapist and columnist for the Irish Examiner, Richard Hogan, because this sparked you as well.
It did, absolutely. As the father of 3 daughters, I must say I was pretty enraged by it.
OK, so just tell us what Vogue did.
Vogue airbrushed the images, and so what we were presented with to the public and to teenage girls and women was this cartoonish image of these very famous paragons of beauty.
Yeah.
Very famous and very beautiful.
Beautiful people.
Already beautiful. And I found, when I saw this cover, I was almost a bit disappointed in Vogue because they have come a long way, especially when it comes to like curve models. Like I was talking to you about this off air. They have models like Paloma Eselsar that have been on the cover, size 16, and now it's like they've taken a huge step back. So what does this say about how we view women aging?
I think, Catty, you're absolutely right. This was a great moment. This was a great opportunity to show, hey, we all age. Well, the reality is we don't all age. You know, some of us don't actually make it to middle age and beyond. Yeah. So this is something that we should celebrate. And it was I think a catastrophic mistake by them and a step backwards, and a real message to children and to all of us that aging isn't desirable. And of course, aging is absolutely something that we should celebrate. Imagine if we celebrated who we are in this moment instead of lying about our age and using filters and using things to kind of change our faces. Wouldn't it be much more, a much healthier life, a much more enjoyable life, a less miserable life?
Yeah.
OK, but these are women who were in the late 80s and into the 90s at the very top of the modelling game. Yeah. And they became the story rather than the brands that they were
selling
when they were on catwalks or on TV. And they have aged gracefully.
I think so as well.
But they look like cartoons.
Yeah.
And when I saw the picture myself, I said, wow, is this a drawing or is this a photograph?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you feel cheated?
Well, I thought, as the father of 3 daughters, what a missed opportunity to give a really positive message around aging. What a missed opportunity to tell our children, to tell our daughters and our sons and women and men that aging is actually a good thing and we should celebrate it. And when you see people like Paul McCartney at 81 out there redefining old age, and Mick Jagger doing his thing, it redefines old age. I mean, that's a celebration of age. You know, we should be like Lear in time and beating on the wall and saying, yeah, it's okay to age, and let's like rage into old age and celebrate what we look like. Let's not hide that.
Absolutely. Richard, from your experience in the clinic and also as a father of 3 girls, what is the damage you see that is being done by the use of Snapchat filters and Photoshop?
Yeah, Catty, I work with this every day. I work with fantastic teenage girls in particular, but boys too have come into this demographic of people who are kind of affected by image. Oh, this absolute obsession with every facet, the minutiae of the face and the body. You know, when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, I actually never heard of abs. I didn't know what abs were. I mean, they weren't something that any of the lads talked about down playing hurling. You just got fit and you ran and you did those kind of things. We didn't know about micros or macros, or you certainly weren't looking at your image. You weren't thinking about my nose and my eyes and my cheekbones and my forehead and my eyelashes. But what I see with teenage girls now is that they are consumed with the minutiae of their facial image. And so they're thinking about, this part of my eye doesn't look great, I'd like to get this eyebrow done, I'd like to get my nose, there's a little lump here I'd like to get taken off, this nostril actually isn't as good as this. And so they're consumed with just the smallest little things. And it's just miserable.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a lack of celebration of the uniqueness of what you look like. And what I say to them always, I quote John Keats, the great poet, truth is beauty and beauty truth, and that's all we need to know. And the more we celebrate the beauty and the truth of us, the more happy we will be in our lives.
I think with there's a lot of accessibility when it comes to Botox and filler these days, and you see girls.
Well, it's so cheap, you see.
And it's very cheap. You see a lot of young girls getting them so early.
And dangerously not regulated.
Exactly.
No, but see, and that was the thing that was always confined to Hollywood, you know, facelifts and all that kind of stuff. But now it's available for everybody.
Yeah.
And that is, to me, is the dystopian thing here, that girls are getting the message. First of all, they shouldn't age, and they shouldn't look any way normal. They shouldn't look, as they look, and so they're changing their image into this kind of definition of what beauty is.
I remember doing an interview a number of years ago on a previous show I was doing here, where somebody was on saying, if you're going to get Botox, if you're going to get fillers, you need to start in your 20s.
Yeah.
And I thought,
As a prevent, I've heard that too.
but why?
I don't know.
Why would you? At that age,
Yeah.
look, I don't see why you would anyway, but why would you? And that
See, it's presented as so desirable, and that old. This is exactly what we're talking about, Vogue. That aging is such a negative thing. The connotations around aging is so prevented. It's like, that's what it is. It's a preventative measure. But it's like keeping the tide out with a spoon. Age hopefully is coming. And that's not all of us get to do it. And we should celebrate who we are. But that's That's what Vogue fed into.
Richard, you mentioned how it even impacts us being reluctant to appear in photos.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Oh, I meet that all the time, and I analyse myself sometimes, and I wonder sometimes, am I happy to be in a photograph? Probably not, and it's a terrible shame, isn't it? And I'd see my own, daughters and wife the same, and my mother and my mother-in-law, and I'd see my friends and thinking about their image and in their photograph, and where the hell is that coming from? It's the culture above us that's feeding down. You don't look good in that picture. Look how tired you look in that picture. Look at the wrinkles.
I remember I had a friend, and every time we took group photos, she would say, I look horrible.
Get rid of it.
Delete that. And we just ended up having no memories of our time together, because it probably stemmed from that body image dysmorphia that, a lot of girls struggle with, because we do look up to media our whole lives on what the epitome of beauty really is.
Absolutely.
But should we, how, if you could give us some examples, how should we start celebrating aging?
Well, first of all, as I said to you, not all of us get to do it.
Yeah.
And so there's the first point, that aging is actually, if you're aging, that's a great thing. And we should teach your children values very early, that they're more than their appearance, because that is such, if we take, which we do in our Western culture, that youth is the paragon of all things, it's probably between about 15 and 35, let's be honest, right? And so that's only a window of 20 years. The majority of your life then is going to be in misery, because you're going to be thinking back on your youth. And let's be honest, when you're youthful, you don't actually celebrate it that well anyway, because you don't realize it, right? And so if we teach our children, and it's something that I came to myself early on in my life, that actually, if you've got that superficial desire about looks and appearance and all that, it's fleeting. You should have more value in yourself. And if you develop yourself and your value in yourself and how you look, I'm not saying we shouldn't celebrate how we look. We should celebrate how we look. We should celebrate the uniqueness of how we look and who we are on the inside. And I think nothing captures what we're talking about than the selfie. Everything is looking at this superficial. It's not looking inwards, but it's a superficial self. It's not. There's no depth to the selfie. It's not like there's lovely panoramic views going on. It's just you, in Florence, but you don't see Florence. It's just you.
Just see you.
Just see
a bit of a bridge or a chapel or
a little thing. But it's all so superficial, and we have to help our children out, celebrate who you are, because that is the beauty. That's the true beauty.